Hello my viewers and welcome back to another interesting video. Now in today's video, we're taking a look into a powerful and urgent message about the state of racial dynamics in America. Now in this video, a prominent voice challenges the status quo, asserting that Black people are being manipulated into a subservient mindset, pressured to accept the systemic inequalities ingrained in our society. Now, a brother highlights a crucial point that when Black individuals assert their rights, it's often misinterpreted as hostility rather than a call for justice. Now, he argues that while Black Americans have long sought equal rights and fair treatment, the system remains mired in greed and privilege. As this injustice persists, it now extends beyond racial lines, affecting all who once benefited from systemic privilege. Now, it's like the tables are turning. Palm color privilege is dwindling, percent by percent. The consequences of ignoring the frontline voices are now affecting everyone. Police brutality, oppression, and poverty. No one is immune. So join me as we unpack the tactics used to control and divide, the true meaning of pro-Blackness, and the urgent need for collective action. Take a look at this video. I will be right back.
Black people, you need to understand what's happening to you today. You are being pressured, gaslighted, trolled, and guilt-tripped into a constant state of subservient activity, of a slave mindset, of being content and okay with what's happened in this country. See, when a Black person exercises their pro-Blackness, it is received as anti-white or anti-America. But that has never been the case. The truth of the matter is, since the beginning of our interaction, our introduction to white people, we have only been asking, give us equal and leave us alone. But for whatever reason, they can't seem to leave us alone. They can't seem to stay out of our business. They can't seem to do anything other than be greedy, selfish, privileged, and racist. The privilege, by the way, you are losing percent by percent every day based on the fact that you refuse to listen to the ones on the front line that have been telling you about this country. Because at one point, being white benefited you in America. But now, because of the greed of the ones you put in power, regardless of what the name is, what the party is, what the gang is, the ones you put in power, the system that's in place that never gets changed, regardless of who's in that seat, you refuse to listen. So now what you see is little white kids getting slammed on their head by police. Now what you see is white women being harassed by racist cops. Now what you see is oppressed, poor white people, all because you refuse to do anything about it when it benefited you. Usually around this time, they start mentioning, oh, well, you guys weren't the only slaves. True, nobody said we were, but we were the only ones that had our identity stripped. Till this day, all of our last names are our slave masters' last names, which is why I changed mine. We are the only ones that do not know our original language. We do not know originally what village, what tribe we are from. We don't know nothing. We have had a complete cutoff from our original identity in Africa. And to all you Hebrew, Israelite, whatever, that are going through an identity crisis, provide some proof, substantial, concrete proof that Africans were here already, and the words will change. Until then, stop with the over speculation. We don't have time for this identity crisis. I understand that there is some proof, some research that can be done, but nothing concrete to say that Africans were here. But the crazy thing about it is, whether Africans were in America already or not, let's not forget that all life on Earth, all humans on Earth originated out of Africa, or Al-Kibulan, whatever you want to call it. So that would make the Native Americans African. That would make you Hispanics African. That would make you Asians African. That would make all of you African. So quit with the self-hatred, grow some nuts, look in the mirror and deal with yourself. Back on topic. The whites, they fall in love with certain half truths. Like they'll say, oh, well, you know, Africans sold Africans into slavery. The Africans sold you guys into half true. The very few that contributed to the Atlantic slave trade, that sold slaves to the whites, were considered traitors and were outcasted from the entire continent. If you're going to speak on history, speak factually and tell the whole thing, not just what benefits the point you want to make. So make sure to all black people that have gotten this far in the video, whenever you hear a white person say that, whenever you hear a dumbass sellout say that, make sure you tell them the whole thing. That there were only a few that participated in that slave trade. Only a few Africans. And they were alienated, they were considered traitors, they were outcasted, they were not welcome on the continent after they did what they did. Let's not forget, white folks, you couldn't get it done. You arrived, saw them Native Americans, and was getting your ass kicked because they knew the terrain and you didn't. And it wasn't up until you went and stole them Africans, kidnapped them Africans, and brought them Africans to America and forced them Africans to fight them Native Americans, go look up the Buffalo Soldiers, that you had a chance at winning. It wasn't until chattel slavery, after you've stripped the identity of these human beings, after you've been beat and tortured, killed babies, after you've done all of this, it wasn't until the chattel slavery, the economy created by the selling of my ancestors, that created the American economy and made all of this possible. But then they say, oh, well, I didn't sell slaves. I wasn't a part of slavery. I didn't do this, that, and the third. But you benefited from it. You benefit from it because you got here. You got here by you being white, and how every other culture is suffering but yours up until now, because you know your country is on the verge of collapse every 5 years because y'all can't run shit, because you can't do shit. The only thing you could do was brutalize, killing. Even that's running out because he's scared of you no more. You don't get it, do you? Milkman don't get it. You surrounded, boy. You surrounded by all your enemies. It ain't just about black folks. Matter of fact, right now, we probably the least ones you got to worry about because it's black people fighting black people just to try to liberate. You surrounded. The world hates you. It ain't just about us. The world hates you for what you done. You violated not only man's law, but God's law over and over. And you doing it today. Go look at how the Africans just found 2 agents trying to stage a coup. One of them was black. Wake up, black people.
Now, the brother's commentary reveals several critical truths about systemic racism and its broader implications. The assertion that black individuals are pressured, gaslighted, and guilt-tripped into accepting a subservient mindset is rooted in a long-standing reality. Men in the black community face constant discouragement when advocating for their rights, often being accused of divisiveness or anti-American sentiment. Now, this reflects a broader pattern where calls for racial justice are met with resistance or dismissal. When it comes to misinterpretation of pro-blackness, the idea that expressions of pro-black sentiment are misinterpreted as anti-Pam color or anti-American underscores a significant misunderstanding in societal discourse. Pro-black advocacy often seeks to address historical and ongoing injustices, not to undermine other groups. However, this nuance is frequently lost, contributing to a cycle of defensiveness and stagnation in racial progress. Systemic greed and privilege. Now, the image highlights how systemic issues are perpetuated by entrenched power structures that benefit from maintaining the status quo. Now, this is evident in how policies and practices often favor the privileged while marginalizing others. Now, the critique of systemic greed is valid, as history shows how economic and political systems have been designed to favor certain groups, often at the expense of marginalized communities. The observation that systemic issues are now impacting poor and disenfranchised palm-color individuals reflects a growing awareness that systemic inequalities ultimately affect everyone. As the system becomes increasingly strained and inequitable, its adverse effects become more apparent across racial lines. Now, this erosion of privilege is a consequence of a failing system that does not address the root causes of inequality, leading to widespread discontent. The images point about the inability of political figures and systems to enact meaningful change is well-founded. The persistence of systemic problems, regardless of political leadership, highlights a fundamental flaw in the system. It often perpetuates itself rather than addressing structural issues. Now, this inertia reinforces inequality and disenfranchisement, demonstrating the need for systemic reform rather than superficial adjustments. Now, the brothers' video highlights a crucial and often overlooked dimension of systemic inequality: its impact on all racial groups, including poor and disenfranchised palm-color individuals. While systemic racism predominantly affects marginalized communities, its effects ripple across society, influencing various groups in complex ways. Systemic inequality, deeply entrenched in American institutions, has long perpetuated racial disparities. Historically, the system has designed to benefit palm-color individuals, particularly those with socioeconomic privilege. However, as systemic issues persist and evolve, they increasingly impact individuals beyond traditionally marginalized groups. Poor and disenfranchised palm-color people are now experiencing some of the adverse effects of this broken system. Now, one key issue is economic disparity. The widening wealth gap, which disproportionately affects marginalized communities, also has severe repercussions for poor palm-color individuals. As economic opportunities diminish and job insecurity increases, many palm-color people find themselves in precarious positions, struggling with poverty and lack of access to resources. Now, this economic strain often exacerbates social tensions and can lead to a sense of betrayal or abandonment by a system that once seemed to offer privilege and stability. The decline in public services and social safety nets affects everyone, including disenfranchised palm-color individuals. Cuts to education, healthcare, and social programs disproportionately harm those already on the fringes of society, irrespective of race. Now, this erosion of public support systems underscores how systemic issues, while rooted in racial inequalities, create widespread challenges that affect all socioeconomic classes. Moreover, the brothers' commentary underscores a critical point, that the failure to address systemic issues comprehensively contributes to a broader sense of disenfranchisement. When systemic reforms are delayed or ignored, they perpetuate a cycle of inequality that affects all individuals, ultimately leading to a fragmented society where discontent and instability grow. The impact of systemic inequality extends beyond racial lines, affecting poor and disenfranchised palm-color individuals as well. Now, this is the reason why the need for a united front in the fight for equality extends beyond moral and ethical imperatives. It's a practical necessity for ensuring that systemic issues do not continue to erode the well-being of all individuals. The bitter truth is that systemic inequality is not a problem confined to any one racial or socioeconomic group. It's a pervasive issue that ultimately affects everyone. Historically, systemic structures have been designed to benefit a select few, often leaving marginalized communities at a severe disadvantage. However, as these structures perpetuate inequality, their detrimental effects begin to ripple outwards. Now, the erosion of economic stability, access to quality education, and adequate health care are issues that increasingly impact all socioeconomic classes, including disenfranchised palm-color individuals. Now, as these systemic issues escalate, they increasingly encroach upon the lives of those who once benefited from the status quo, revealing the widespread damage inflicted by systemic inequality. We have finally come to the end of the video, but what do my viewers have to say? Share your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video.